Now, as you watched right here on CBC News Network, Ontario Premier Doug Ford just announced his province is further easing measures for COVID-19. CBC's Megan Fitzpatrick was listening in with us from Toronto. Megan, thanks for joining us and filling us in. The next phase of reopening is coming sooner than expected, February 17th. Fill us in on what is included in that and why now.
Yeah, that's right, Hannah. They've sped up the timeline for the lifting of restrictions. So Ontario did have a plan to lift restrictions, the next phase of that, on February 21st, but they are speeding that up to February 17th. And that means lifting capacity restrictions for certain indoor venues. So as of February 17th, capacity limits will lift for bars and restaurants and gyms and movie theaters and meeting and event spaces and casinos, bingo halls, and other gaming establishments. Right now, they're capped at 50% capacity. They will be allowed to go to full capacity on February 17th. Proof of vaccination will still be required at those venues for another 2 weeks, and I'll get to that in a moment. But in terms of the other restrictions that lift on February 17th, social gatherings can increase to 50 people indoors, 100 people outdoors. And for organized public events, 50 people indoors and no limit outdoors. Also, capacity can increase to 25% at nightclubs. And then limits at grocery stores, pharmacies, other retail stores. The capacity limits will lift there. They will be limited to the number of people that can be spread apart by 2 meters. Now, the next phase that is being sped up will be March 1st, as long as public health indicators continue to improve. And at that time, the proof of vaccination system in Ontario will lift. So this is major news here being announced by the Premier. But they also say, Hannah, that businesses that want to continue to require proof of vaccination will be allowed to do so. They won't be required to by the province, but if they want to do that, they can still do that. Wearing masks indoors in public places will still be required for the time being, and they didn't put a timeline on that for lifting. The other piece of news is as of Friday, booster dose eligibility will open up to 12 to 17-year-olds. So people should be aware of that as well. They can get their 3rd dose as long as it's been 6 months or 168 days after their 2nd dose. You asked, Hannah, why now for this timeline being sped up. The Premier made a point of saying why they didn't make this decision. He said it is not based on these protests that we've been seeing in Ottawa, in Windsor, and elsewhere. He says these decisions are being made now because it's safe to do so, and that these decisions were based on the recommendations of the Chief Medical Officer, Dr. Kieran Moore.
Okay, Megan Fitzpatrick in Toronto. Thank you kindly.